All right, guys, I'm going to do some of your problems for today. So let's check this out. All right, so I know in the video that they teach you a different way of factoring than maybe you're used to, which is okay. It's good to know different methods, but I'm going to teach you my method, and hopefully this works for you, okay? It's probably something you've seen before, the diamond or snowflake method, all right? So when we factor, the first thing we want to do is make sure we do not have a GCF. We always want to check for GCF, okay? So is there, besides the number 1, can I divide anything out of here? And the answer is no, okay? Not even an x. So since we don't have a GCF and I have a trinomial, 1, 2, 3 terms, I'm going to do the x method, okay? So the x method or the diamond method is when you have a 1 in front. If you have something other than a 1, it's snowflake method. And I'll show you what that looks like. So this is what we're doing, okay? And what it is we're going to take the a value and the c value. So here's my a value, which is 1. My c value is here, and this is my b value. So to fill in the top part of my diamond or x method, we do a times c. So in other words, we're doing 1 times 3. Okay, that goes there. Careful with your signs. On the bottom here, we're going to put our b value in, which is positive 4. Okay, now we want to figure out, do you guys know something that multiplies to 3 that can add up to 4? So that's pretty simple. 3 times 1. Signs are important. So it's positive 3 times positive 1. That gives me 3. Positive 3 and positive 1. So positive 3 plus positive 1. That gives me 4. So we multiplied to 3 and we added or subtracted to 4. So I call this guy the magic pair. So that's going to go here. Order doesn't matter. You could put, like I did, you could put 3 and 1 or 1 and 3. So once you filled in this, it's very simple. We're going to take our variable and put it into this template. Remember, when we factor, we're turning things into multiplication, into factors. So we're going to put our variable, which is x, in the first spot. And then our magic pair, including their sign, in the second spot. So we have positive 3, positive 1, and we're done factoring. Okay, this is called the x method. I know the video taught you something a little different, which is fine. If you're comfortable with that other method, that's fine. Let's shoot over to number 2. Okay, check for GCF. No GCF, but we're going to do our x method. Here's my a, my b, and my c. So a times c here, my b value goes here. So a times c in this case is 1 times 72. That is 72. My b value is negative 17. Okay. What makes these a little more difficult is as this number gets bigger, it gets a little bit harder to find my magic pair. Okay. So we're trying to find things that multiply to 72 but add up to negative 17. So I know that to multiply to 72 is 9. One of them is 9 times 8. Okay, so that gives me positive 72, which we want. All right, but if I add these guys, it gives me positive 17, which we don't want. We want negative 17. Okay, so how can I still make it positive when I multiply, but negative when I add? So the answer to that is this combination is not going to work. What we need to do is do double negatives, because negative times a negative is still positive when you multiply. When we add these guys together, it's negative 17. Okay, so my magic pair is -9 and -8. So it's very important that you are mindful of your signs when you do this. We got to keep this guy positive when we multiply, but also keep it negative when we add and subtract. Okay, a lot of mistakes happen when we mess up with those signs. Make sure it works for both top and bottom, your A, C, and B. Okay, once we have our magic pair, boom, we put this into our template. And our template uses the B value. So we're going to have -9 and -8. Again, you could have B -8 first and B -9 first. Order doesn't matter, as long as the signs are correct. Okay, this is your final answer. Okay, before I go on even further, we're going to have problems where instead of B squared, we might have B to the 4th. All you're doing is splitting this B evenly. So you're going to split one B here and one B here. If it was B to the 4th, it'd be B squared and B squared. If it was B to the 6th, it'd be B to the 3rd and B to the 3rd. If it was B to the 8th, it'd be B4, B4. Okay? So make sure that when we put our variable in, we're just splitting that exponent. All right, let's jump over here. We do not have a GCF at all, so I'll always check for GCF, but we do have something different. We have our A value is not 1. So we have A, B, C. When your A value is not 1 and you check for GCF, this is where we do the snowflake method. Okay, it just involves an extra step. So the snowflake method is like the X, but we have to put an extra line in. Okay, so this is still your A times C, and this is still your B. Okay, so A times C in this case is 2 times -2. That's going to give me -4. Careful with your sign here, but it's -4. My B is -3. All right, so we have that, but we got to fill in some other stuff. So what we're going to put in this spot is actually our leading coefficient, our leading guy, but we're going to split the y. So watch. We're going to put 2y and 2y. Okay? So we're doing the 2 because of the A value. So basically the A value with the split variable. So same A value, but we split the variable here. Okay? Now, to fill in the bottoms, we just figure out what we did in the X method. What multiplies to -4 that adds up to -3. Again, this is the hardest part, figuring out those magic pairs. Okay? So if you think about it, I have to multiply to -4, but add up to -3. So the only things that multiply to 4 is that 2 and 2 and 4 and 1. Which one will add up to -3 if I adjust the signs? And we have to multiply to -4. So it's going to be this one. And we're going to do -4 times +1. The 2's won't work. And let's check it. Does it multiply to -4? -4 times 1, it works. Does it add up to -3? So -4 and +1, that's still -3. Okay, so this is my magic pair. -4, and it doesn't matter where you put it, and 1. Okay, so here's the next step. What we want to do is look at this. And we are going to reduce that if we can. So when I say reduce, you think of a number that reduces this fraction or divides 2 and -4? And the answer is yes, I can divide by 2. If I divide this by 2 and divide this by 2, okay, this turns into 1 and this turns into -2. Okay, so once we do that, we put it into our template. If you look at this guy over here, we can't reduce anything there, so he stays the same. So what is our answer? This turns into 1y, that goes in the first spot, 1y minus 2. That's your first parentheses. The next one is 2y and plus 1. Okay? This is called the snowflake method. And this is how you factor when your a value is not 1. Any other number than 1, other than 1. Okay? Let's try 4. So again, check for GCF. GCF is not there, but we have an a value that is not 1, so we're going to do snowflake method here. So here's my a, my b, and my c. So a times c is going to give me negative 24. And then b is going to give me 2. It goes on the bottom. Okay. And then we're going to have 8y and 8y because this is my a value. 8 and bring it 1y in, 8 and bring another y in. Now we got to figure out what multiplies to negative 24 that adds up to 2. Okay, so we're going to go a little faster because I already know the answer. Is going to be 6 times negative 4. Okay, that gives me negative 24, and this gives me 6, and negative 4 give me positive 2. So my magic pair is 6 and negative 4. So it doesn't matter where you put them. 6, negative 4. And now before we finish this, we want to reduce these fractions if possible. Can I reduce? And the answer is you can reduce by 2 here. So I can divide by 2. So let's divide by 2. So if I divide by 2 and divide by 2 here, okay, this is going to give me 4y on top and 3 on the bottom. So that's going to be my first parentheses, 4y and positive 3. Okay, so let's do the same for our next set. I can reduce by 4 here. Remember, you want to reduce by the biggest number possible. So I actually can divide by 4 here. This is going to give me 2y on top and negative 1 on bottom. So it's 2y minus 1. And we are done factoring. Okay, I'll let you try the other problems out. Let's shoot over to the next section. Okay, I want to look at number 8. Okay, 8 and 12. So 8 and 12 are slightly different, but we're going to keep it exactly the same way. So the key here is we have no GCF. So what students need to understand is our A value is here. Our B value would have been in the middle, but our B value is 0 because it's not there. Remember, your B value is the guy that has a single variable, okay? So if you look, I'm missing the C variable. So that means my B value is 0, and my C value is negative 144, okay? So if I really wrote this out, this is what we're really seeing. C squared plus 0C minus 144. This is how you have to think of it. That's my A, here's my B, and my C. A common mistake is students believe this is your B value. It's not. Your C value is a guy always without the variable. Okay? If there's no middle term, so you don't have 3 terms. If there's no middle term, it's 0. Okay? So what does that mean when it comes to, in this case, we're doing the X method because we have an A value of 1. So A times C is still 1 times negative 144. So it's negative 144. My B value is 0. Okay? And what makes it cool when your B value is 0, that means that when I add, whatever I multiply here, whatever I add has to eliminate each other. Okay? So in essence, we're trying to look for two numbers to multiply. And these two numbers, when we have a B value of 0, have to be the same number. Okay? For example, in this particular case, 12 times 12 gives me 144. But when I add them, 12 plus 12, that gives me 24. I need it to be 0, which means I also need this guy to be negative. So one of these guys has to be negative. So make a little bit more room here. So this guy has to be negative. Okay? Because if we multiply, what's 12 times negative 12? Negative 144, and that's what we need. What's positive 12 and negative 12? When I combine them, it's 0. So my magic pair is 12 and negative 12. So the same rules apply, just be careful that your B value is 0. Okay, so because this is just the X method, we don't have to reduce or anything. This is my answer. So we're going to split our variable. C squared gets split into C and C. So we have C here and C here, and then we have positive 12 and negative 12. And we're done factoring. Okay. I'll let you do the rest, but let's try number 12. Again, this is a binomial or two terms. When this happens, we treat it like it's three terms. We treat it like it's written like this. Here's my A, my B, and my C. Okay, this one's slightly different. I'm going to do the work above here just because of the watermark. We have an A value that's not 1, so we're going to use the snowflake method. Okay, so A times C, that's 4 times negative 9. That gives me negative 36. My B value is 0. Okay, so this is my B value. All right, now we got to figure out, before I do that, I have to put in my 4n for my leading number, 4n and 4n. That's from here. My A value goes here. Okay, and now I figure out what multiplies a negative 36 that adds up to 0. And that should be fairly simple. It's 6 and negative 6. When I multiply those, it gives me negative 36. When I add those, it gives me 0. So I'm going to put 6 and negative 6. Reduce if we can. So let's reduce this if we can. And we can reduce by 2. So if I divide the top by 2, that gives me 2. The bottom by 2 gives me 3. So 2n. Okay. So we have 2n over 3. So let's put that as our answer. 2n and positive 3. Now let's reduce the second guy. And we can reduce by 2 as well. So if I reduce by 2 or divide by 2, this gives me 2n over negative 3, because I'm reducing by 2. And that gives me 2n minus 3 in my other parentheses. Okay, and I'll let you do the rest. Hopefully this helps.